and lead you along with us to our Imam alayhi salam and to our Qaim alayhi salam. You guys already know my story of how I became an Ansar, how I became a believer in Imam Ahmad alayhi salam. It was through TADS. But the one thing that stuck out to me was when I heard his recording, Sermon Hajj. And there was just something very familiar about the Imam, and I just kept thinking to myself, this is what I was looking for. I kept thinking, I have finally found you. All these things kept coming up in my mind, and I have to say, since then, so many experiences have happened in regards to the Imam. I've had so many experiences. It's so strange now. You guys know from the last show about the 313, and it's so strange because since I've known the Imam, I've realized a lot about myself. I've learned about the Imam, but through that I've learned a lot about myself and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has led me to this place, and my whole life so far, 27 years on this earth, has been leading up to this point. I can't describe that feeling to you guys, unless you feel it yourself. It's like if everything makes sense now. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. A missing piece of a jigsaw puzzle was found. And I've learned a lot about things that I've never known. Like, if you guys have been to the Savior Room and have seen me mention ego monster, yeah, because I recognize that monster now so much. I never realized, and this is through the Imam, and this is through learning about him, and this is through reading his work. The ego and the ego monster is such a huge thing in you. It's such a big monster riding your back all the time, and you never see it. And it disguises itself, and it hides itself, and it camouflages itself. It comes out as all sorts of different things, and I seriously never realized it until now. And I remember thinking to myself, birthdays and things like that are such a big thing, and a couple of months ago, it was my birthday. It was my 27th birthday, and I remember waking up and thinking, I'm not even going to acknowledge that today I turned 27. I didn't even acknowledge it. I didn't even think about it. I just thought to myself, this is one of those things that I'm letting go, because seriously guys, Valentine's Day, all of those other days, birthdays, Mother's Day, Father's Day, I'm sure they've got Brother's Day and Sister Day as well. All of these things, it's like a whole day dedicated to the birth of you. It's like, who cares? Seriously, who cares? It's such an insignificant day. It's unbelievable how cultures and things like that trick you into believing that you should celebrate your own birth. Throw a big party for yourself, or get people to throw a big party and give you things just for being born. It's so ridiculous, and I realized this year. And I remember, on my birthday, regardless of what happened during the day or what everyone was doing and stuff like that, I remember the best birthday gift I have ever gotten. On that day, Abdullah released a TADS video, and it talked about Imam Hussein's return. And on that day, I cannot tell you the expression on my face, the expression in my heart, the expression of my soul. More like, that was the best ever thing that I ever heard or ever got. It was the best ever news. And I might not be here at that time. Probably won't. No, actually, I won't be here at that time. I don't know what's gonna happen and whatnot. But it's such an amazing feeling. I can't even describe it. So that was the highlight of my birthday. The Tad's video talking about Imam Hussein's return. Because everything else materialistically and all these physical things are going to be left behind. And that news in itself just, it made my whole day. I can't even tell you, And then at this time and afterwards, I started to see a lot of synchronicities. I started to see a lot of synchronicities, a lot of signs and things like that. And 313 kept coming up. It just kept coming up. And it was really strange because, some time ago, Ahila, who you guys have just heard from, we were talking about 313, we were talking about numbers and how she opened up a dream book and the page was 313. And she said, it's so amazing how you notice these things and you just think, oh, it's 313. She's like, I look for people that were born on the 31st of March. And I'm like, why? 31st of March? What's significant about that? I was born on 31st of March. And everyone in the room, suddenly the text on the room was like, oh no way, wow, that's so amazing, wow. And I was like, what? And she's like, have you never noticed how it makes a 313? I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, 31st 3. I was like, oh yeah, it does, doesn't it? And she's like, you seriously? They were all so amazed. They're like, seriously, you've never noticed this? And I was like, I swear, in 27 years, I've never noticed this until you guys just brought it up. So it was really strange. They were like, oh, no wonder you're an Ansar, or no one, they started saying all these things. And seriously, I was just like thinking to myself, why didn't I ever notice this? I've been a Shia since I was like 10, 11 years old, and I never noticed this. It's strange. Then I started to think maybe it's because, I let go, or tried to let go of the ego on my birthday that this is my present, this realization. I don't know, Allahu Alam. But it's so amazing because like everyone has a story. I'm sat here with my cup of green tea with a microphone in my face, and I'm telling you about things, and you guys have just heard about other people and their stories and their experiences. Everyone has a story, and it's like human beings are storytellers. That's why they watch all these soaps and dramas and all this like bad TV, because everyone seeks a story. Your reality is the story that you've told yourself. Your words don't really work unless they have a story to back it up, because human beings are storytellers, like I said. The artistic expression is the way that you tell your story. Everyone has to have like some sort of creative outlet, otherwise, you'll never be able to speak your story, you'll never be able to share your story. Or they have to have an audience with which they can sit and tell their story. Like I'm speaking to you guys and I'm like trying to lighten my story, because once you pass it on, it lightens your load. You feel lighter after you've expressed yourself. I remember years ago, my grandfather, who I've spoken about before from my mother's side, the one who had a very close relationship with the Ahlul Bayt, who really loved them, was the only person I knew of like very deep spirituality. And when he was young, he left everything and he went and stayed in a jungle. Can you imagine, in the black and white era, in like, I think it must have been like 1900 and I don't know what, but pretty early in the century, 1914, something like that, I don't know, Allahu Alam. But it's like, he left everything. He was very amazing looking, and my mom was saying the other day, she was like, when he would walk in the street, he had very like, it was something about him, he had like beautiful, piercing, bluish eyes, he had beautiful eyes, just beautiful eyes, and there's something about him, he had a presence, and women would like just look at him, and they'd be like, and a lot of women said to him, tell us and we'll leave our husbands for you. There was just something about him, and he left everything and he lived in a jungle with these people who live in a jungle, these people who live off of the land and stuff like that. And he stayed there for about 20 years, I think, and it was to try and tame his ego, his nafs. He lived basic, and he learned about mysticism and alchemy through that. He was so amazing. Alhamdulillah that I spent a summer with him, and that's when I learned about Imam Ali, and I learned all these things. Just being near him, he had a presence. There was something about him, and when he died, we all saw on his body a birthmark he always used to speak of. He always used to speak of a birthmark that he had, and he wouldn't show us. He said he read somewhere that there's a tribe of people looking for a person with this birthmark, and on his right side, on his stomach, the birthmark said Muhammad, 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 Shahid, on his stomach. And when he passed away, I saw it. Actually, it was filmed, and he said, when I pass away, it will glow and it will shine. And there was just something about him, I can't describe it. If he was alive today, he would be an Ansaar.